the active train designed in the USSR in the 70s. Training Royal African Shooters to Drive, 1943. A stone on the head trains the students to keep their heads up and keep their eyes on the road. Hussein Obama, the father of U.S. President Barack Obama, also served here. During the mass riots of autumn 2006, demonstrators managed to start an T-34-85 tank, placed on display in the city center, and attempted to break through the police positions with it. In 1938, London post offices allowed mailing ducks, rabbits, etc., ended when blood-stained packages started arriving. A soldier prays amid the ruins of a destroyed temple, Republic of Vietnam, 1972. The ambiguous pose of a Pompeian man who died as a result of the eruption of Mount Vesuvius on August 24th, 79 AD. A young bride heading to her wedding, China, 1912. The miraculous survivors from the 87th floor of the World Trade Center, New York, September 11th, 2001. Even the poor were too lazy to bend down to pick up thousands and millions of banknotes lying on the street. There was nothing to buy with them anyway. A Viet Cong deserter shows Americans how partisans overcome barbed wire obstacles. Vietnam, 1967. Snow blockade in Minnesota, USA, March 29, 1881. 3 children sift sand at a gold mine in Dominion, Alaska, 1898. The arrest of Rosa Parks for refusing to move to the whites-only section of the bus, USA, 1956. A penguin concert during Shackleton's expedition, Ross Ice Shelf, Antarctica, summer 1908. The paradox was that the penguins only reacted to classical music. 1900s, jazz did not interest them. The birds reacted most keenly to the violin. The first woman to attempt to vote. When trying to enter a polling station, she was pushed out and thrown to the ground. United Kingdom, 1872. This is a screenshot from the 1970s show, The Dating Game. The man circled is serial killer Rodney Alcala. He became the winner of the show, but the woman refused to go on a date with him. Imagine how lucky she was. The coffins of 19 peasants are transported on trucks for burial. Pará State, Brazil. In 1996, 1,500 peasants occupied a highway near the village of El Dorado dos Carajás to protest the government's delay in settling their families. By the end of the day, military police with rifles and machine guns surrounded the protesters on both sides of the road and opened fire, killing 19 peasants and wounding 57. Dog-drawn carts in the 1920s Belgium. With horse shortages, over 15,000 carts were pulled by dogs. The current Empress of Japan, Masako Owada, with her friends in kindergarten, 1967. Cats preparing for a space flight at the Space Research Laboratory Paris, 1963. An Aleut dressed in a sea lion skin, Alaska, 1900. 120-year-old Jean Calment, born in 1875, pressing a key on a computer keyboard in France shortly before the year 2000. Ma Barker, the mother of all American gangsters, organized the Barker Gang. She was killed along with her son Fred in a fierce hours-long shootout with FBI agents who surrounded her home in 1935. Tsar Cannon, 1883. It is believed that the Tsar cannon never fired and was made just to instill fear in foreigners. Drug lord and political figure Pablo Escobar in the Colombian Congress, 1982. One of the wealthiest people in the world, Jeff Bezos, at the beginning of his career, 1999. A man from Ukraine killed and ate his brother during a period of severe famine, Civil War period, Russia, 1921. Harvey Ball, the man who invented the smiley face. Fresno College students attempting to set a new world record for the most people on one bed, 73 people, 1961. Women's clothing department in Russia, Moscow, 1990. The legendary robber Billy the Kid, a symbol of the Wild West. The only known photograph was sold at auction for $2.3 million. Actor Ron Storm, on the right, takes a break in a restroom, UK, 1970. He was known for playing female roles. While a man in a dress once shocked audiences, times have certainly changed since then. Gargoyles and the facades of Gothic churches are usually positioned so that rainwater flows from the roofs through their mouths. However, one of the gargoyles at Freiburg Minster is holding onto the wall with its hands and feet, and water pours out of its backside. According to a city legend, during the construction of the cathedral, the city council raised the requirements for the stonemasons without increasing their pay. The stonemasons completed the work, but placed this defecating sculpture opposite the city council's windows. Bobby Leach, the first man to jump into Niagara Falls in a barrel and survive, 1911. UK, 1943. A proud member of the Women's Corps shows off her new tattoo, a symbol of rebellion and style. When Soviet scientists created the world's first controlled thermonuclear fusion reactor and reached plasma temperatures of 10 million degrees, human zoos still existed in Europe, 1954. Adolf Hitler visits the Dresden exhibition of degenerate art, 1935. One of the 4 preserved human nervous systems. The extraction took over 1,000 hours. Kazakh girl in a wedding dress, Kazakhstan, 1898. Alice Ulpian, beauty queen, France, 1921. In 1985, a functioning unmarked plane with the remains of 18 people in military uniforms was found in the wilderness. The examination showed they had died a year earlier, and all case files were classified. The scale of repression in the USSR knew no bounds. In 1938, 502 people were executed in one day, including 3 cleaners. 3 poor elderly women were declared enemies of the people. On February 11th, 1990, Mike Tyson suffered his first loss. Times when sheep were used as natural lawn mowers in London parks, 1926. Two childhood friends meet on opposite sides of the barricades, Saint-Brieuc, France, 1972. A masquerade ball, Ball of the Illuminati, hosted by the Rothschilds in 1972. In the photo, a crowd of white civilized Americans mocks two participants in the Civil Rights Movement, 1965. A friendly gift, the bugging device hidden in the Great Seal. Thanks to this device, the USSR secretly eavesdropped on the United States for many years, 1945. Inside someone's locket, 1940s. A World War I veteran begs for alms on a Berlin street, 1923. A new oral X-ray device shocked everyone at the 1920 London Medical Exhibition. A slave in restraints designed to prevent escape. The collar prevented the slave from squeezing through narrow openings, such as a window. Beware a vicious dog, sign, 1940s. If today it's the Beatles, then what will tomorrow bring? Christian rally against the Beatles, California, 1966. Albert Einstein with a girl on his lap at the opening of the 1939 World's Fair in New York. Group photo of Japanese kamikaze pilots before an attack on the central base of the U.S. Pacific Fleet at Pearl Harbor, 1944. For 5 years, a prisoner in Brazil dug a tunnel to escape, but it led right into the guardroom. Prayer for peace, 100,000 monks praying, Thailand. Sailors of the Italian tall ship Amerigo Vespucci saying goodbye to their wives. Naples, 1963. UCUS, 1951. Prettiest Legs Contest. Women wore pillowcases over their heads to keep the focus on their legs. John Lennon signing an autograph for his soon-to-be murderer, Mark David Chapman, hours before he was shot. Car in which Al Capone's lawyer, who testified against him, was killed, 1939. A notable 4-year contrast of Abraham Lincoln during wartime in 1861 and 1865. How teeth were treated several centuries ago. The Institute of Oral Love, 1971. Designers Stoner and Kalashnikov pose with each other's weapons, USA, 1990. The 1960s were a time of struggle for racial equality in the USA. African Americans, like Reverend Joe Carter, faced violence and threats from the Ku Klux Klan. In the photo, he calmly waits for them at his home. New York, 1958. Dancers at a nightclub playing chess. Smartphones had not yet been invented. Julius Dock at the Chicago Police Station, 1906. The criminal, disguised as a woman, was hiding from the police, but it seems he still made a mistake somewhere. The killing of frail children was not only common in Sparta. If a woman gave birth to a deformed child in ancient Greece, she would kill it. In Rome, this was mandated by law. A boy looks at a television for the first time through a store window. 1948. School bus, 1930s, USA. The Great Depression, USA, 1930s. I have 3 trades, I speak 3 languages, I fought 3 years in the war, I have 3 children, and I have been unemployed for 3 months, but I am only looking for one job. Martin Luther King is attacked by States' Rights Party member Jimmy Robinson as King attempts to check into a hotel, USA, 1965. A police dog is not very happy with football players during a match in Cologne, Germany, 1959. An unemployed man sells ad space on his bald head for a sports magazine. Budapest, Hungary, 1939. Vibration therapy, 1890s. A curious treatment for headaches of the era. A hippie wedding, 1965. A temporary morgue at the Seguro Social Baseball Stadium in Mexico. One of the most destructive earthquakes in American history occurred in 1985, killing 10,000 people and injuring 30,000. Military dogs during World War I in sentry duty, 1916. Alcatraz prison, where the most dangerous American criminals were held, operated until 1963 and was the only federal prison at the time where inmates had access to warm showers. The administration decided that prisoners accustomed to comfort would be less likely to attempt to escape by swimming across the cold San Francisco Bay. Soviet border guards before execution, Brest, World War II, 1941. Adolf Hitler visits the trenches where he served during World War I as part of the Bavarian 16th Reserve Regiment near Fonels. The Hitler Regiment held this line for 18 months. Crime reporter questions a gang member during his arrest, Russia, 1991. A 6-person bicycle racing against a train. In 1896, man often tried to compete with the dawning era of machines. The oldest documented joke in history belongs to the Sumerians and dates back to around 1900 BC. It goes, "Since time immemorial, it has never happened that a young wife did not pass gas in her husband's embrace." The blood-stained chair in which U.S. President Abraham Lincoln was sitting when he was shot in the back of the head by John Wilkes Booth over 150 years ago. Relatives wish each other Merry Christmas through the Berlin Wall in 1961. A men's beauty contest, USA, 1919. Berlin residents search for food in the ruins, 1945. Refugees flee from North Korea to the south on a train as communist troops advance from the north, 1950. 1930s, Germany. A firefighter tests the latest invention, a suit that protects him from fire using jets of water coming from the top of the helmet. A Red Cross nurse records the last words of a British soldier, World War I, 1917. charging an electric car in 1911. Japanese gangsters, Yakuza, 1960. A South Vietnamese widow weeps as the bell at a Buddhist pagoda in Saigon tolls the fire, January 28, 1973. The United States began a sharp reduction in its troops in the country. Beauties from the 1940s tried to save their skin from burns before sunscreen was invented. King George V's 10-day royal hunting expedition in Nepal. Numerous tigers, rhinoceros, bears, leopards, deer, boar, porcupines, and birds were killed with a massive 12,000 crew in 1911. A woman lies on the sidewalk in the Warsaw Ghetto, dying of hunger. World War II, 1941. Liberated prisoners of the Buchenwald concentration camp, 1945. Seventh from the left in the second row is Elie Wiesel, future Nobel Peace Prize laureate. Thank you for watching this video until the end. I hope these photos impressed you. Some may have made you angry, brought a smile, made you happy, or perhaps even caused some negativity. Feel free to leave your comments and stay tuned for the next part. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Bye.